And this is kind of breaking news. It's already been out and around for about a day. It's been happening since yesterday. Yesterday, 2 days ago, you might have seen in the news that the American military contractors, or AMCs, that were supposed to set up 5 different distribution points for food aid, humanitarian aid in distribution in Gaza, began to distribute the food, and the crowd was quite significant in size. And Hamas had put up a bunch of warnings to people saying, if you dare take any, we will beat you and do all the terrible things to you. Nevertheless, people showed up because they were, they said, no, we're going to go anyway. To be honest, many of them did. Honestly, the ones I saw on video did not particularly look famished, but okay, whatever. It's, they're impoverished people. I completely understand why they were standing around for food. But keep in mind, the markets are full in Gaza. There are ice cream shops, there are cafes, there are restaurants, there's no shortage of food in Gaza. And the proof of that was that after the kind of craziness that broke out there, one person actually died. But that was because of the insane stampede, and the Americans had to withdraw from their point, from the distribution point, and the Israelis came in, and they didn't shoot anybody, but they shot overhead just to scare people away, to break up the chaos, because it was an insane chaos scene. If you've seen any of the videos, you can understand it was nuts. And but that said, a lot of food was in the end distributed to a lot of people. And so, once again, the process of delivering food is happening in Gaza, as it has been for most of the past 18 months, except for a 3-week period. And again, there was nobody starving because of a lack of food in Gaza. If anybody was hungry, it was 100% because of Hamas. And the proof that we have of that is that after the people had food distributed to them at those points, at that one particular location where they, tried the first distribution point out a day or two ago, the people in Gaza went as a large mob to a known Hamas food warehouse, and they broke in, and they found a massive warehouse filled to the brim with food, like months and months worth, if not more. Okay. Massive amounts of food for the entire population, like an enormous amount of food. And they found so much food that the Hamas people were shooting at them and saying, get back, don't touch the food, you can't have it, it's Hamas food only. And the people there were rioting against the Hamas people. Fights broke out, people got injured. I don't even know if there was anybody, any like significant casualties, like death tolls or anything like that, but there was obviously a lot of looting and violence. It's not really looting, though, when you're taking food that's supposed to be for you in the first place, and the gang that's holding it, the terrorist organization that's holding it illegally, right, is holding it illegally. So that's really not looting. That's actually liberating their food, right, from the people, from the gangsters who are holding it illegally. And so they were, the guys who were holding that food were holding it illegally, and they were caught red-handed, quite literally, on camera and everything, holding a massive amount of food in that warehouse. And there are obviously many such warehouses across Gaza. That one was just particularly a soft spot, a soft target for that mob to go and rip down the doors of and get food. So the lie that has persisted now for a long time, which is frankly just nothing more than a classic blood libel, right? It is really just, that's all it is, an anti-Semitic blood libel that said, 14,000 babies are going to die if they don't get food in Gaza immediately. There was food in Gaza, okay? There's no shortage of it. And it was obviously a lie when the guy said it, and then he had to retract his own statement. And then he later said, oh, no, what I meant is, for up to 14,000 mothers and children may be at risk of malnutrition in the next year. Not 14,000 babies are going to die in 2 days. 14,000 mothers and children may face severe malnutrition. That isn't famine. That isn't death. In the next year. Okay, you know what? Let me clear in on something. Anybody who doesn't get food in the next year may also face famine and malnutrition. It is the most ridiculous thing ever. In other words, they had plenty of food the whole time. There was actually never any shortage. Okay, they got caught red-handed. The UN got caught red-handed. The BBC that covered that got caught red-handed. Every single major media outlet that covered that without questioning it got caught red-handed, even though they all knew the facts. They all got caught red-handed when the Hamas warehouse, full of food, enough to feed the entire population in that area for months, if not years, was broken into by the hungry mob. We're sick and tired of these Hamas Hunger Games, which is really what these are. Right? They're starving these people, their own people. Why? For political points. Because why? Because they don't care about them. If they cared about them, well, they wouldn't starve them, for one thing. Right? They'd make sure that they get the food that they're supposed to get. They receive so much food. I'll remind you, the number of calories assigned per person on average is more than 3,000 calories per day, which is the 8th highest number of calories for any people group on the planet. The 8th highest, okay? So it means if you live in most countries on Earth, your recommended daily allowance of calories is less than what they get, okay? And they're supposed to be a hungry population? No. The only reason any of them are hungry is because Hamas wants as many of them to be hungry as possible so that they look famished on photos that the international press takes. It's all part of the disgusting blood theater of Pallywood, as they call it. Right? That's exactly what that is. There's absolutely no question. Anybody who's saying, no, there's a genocide, Israel's committing a genocide, Israel's starving people to death, you're an ignorant bastard if you're saying that right now. If you're watching what I'm saying and you still believe that, you're an ignorant fool. You can literally go and see video right now on the internet published today of people there, recorded by people there, local Gazans on their video. By the way, they have internet. Okay? Yeah. Oh yeah. Israel's at war with them, but we still provide them with some electricity, and Egypt provides them with electricity, and they still have internet. Okay? Yeah, that's not exactly how a nation conducts quote unquote genocide on another nation. If Israel wanted to do genocide on another nation, do you really think that a country that has the ability to suppress all the telecommunications in a tiny area like Gaza would allow communications in an area like Gaza? Do you think you'd be seeing anything coming out of there? No, but you see tons of footage coming out of there. Why? Because they still have access to information. They still have access to the internet. Why? Because Israel has no interest in blocking that. Okay? Just like they have no interest in blocking food. And when you have the former disgraced and convicted Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, okay, who was corrupt, okay, and I'm not saying Netanyahu isn't corrupt and isn't necessarily bad in some ways. When you have Ehud Olmert, who's just a political activist at this point, a former Israeli leader who was convicted and imprisoned for corruption, saying that what Israel is doing in Gaza is nothing short, is a war crime, basically. He's saying, or it's coming close to being a war crime. He's literally just being a disgusting, self-hating Israeli. And in a way that's just, honestly shameful what he's doing. It's really shameful. Like he's playing up to the part of the typical extreme left wing in Israel that will do and say anything against the country. And there are plenty of reasons to not love the system here. It's not a perfect country. It has massive amounts of faults, just like any other country. It's far from perfect. There are many, many things I could say to complain about how Israel operates. And it has a lot of flaws. It is not a perfect country by any means. By any means. It is far, far, far from it. Okay? But just like the United States is a great country and full of flaws as well. The idea is to keep making it better over time, right? And the fact is that Israel has been providing so much food to the people in Gaza. Many of them are actually getting fat. Okay? They're eating more since the war began. And that's not a joke. And that's not a sarcastic remark. And they're not being coy. They're literally eating more. Their restaurants are stocked sky high with food. Their markets are piled super. I mean, as high as they can pile them. They're filled with food, and yes, they sell them at a super high markup because Hamas sells the food that they've stolen to the markets at a super high markup. And somehow the people there who are supposed to be famished and impoverished, many of whom are, by the way, but somehow, you know, a, a significant portion of them have enough money to be buying, for example, cigarettes at 10 times the normal market price, right? They're able to buy hamburgers and ice cream and spaghetti and, soft drinks and whatever they need at 5, 10, 20 times the normal price. So, where am I from? Well, I'm right now. So, hello to you. Uh, but I'm, you know, originally born elsewhere, but I am ancestrally a Judean, and I am in Israel, specifically in the north, if you care to know. Um, yeah, but it is it is not surprising, as disgusting as it is, that lie keeps happening. It is just so typical and so classical in an awful way, the kind of anti-Semitic trope that has been spread about the Israelis are starving, Palestinian babies and Palestinian women and children and Palestinian. It's just the worst kind of trope. It's literally a blood libel spread against Israel, spread against the Jews, and it's the kind of thing that led literally directly to the attack of the young couple that was gunned down last week in Washington D.C. outside of the Jewish Museum, because the murderer, and it's not, I'm not going to say alleged, okay? He did it, and he proudly said, free Palestine, after he got caught, after he surrendered himself for doing that, okay? So I'm not going to say alleged, I don't care. Sue me, bro. Um, he, uh, he did it, he shot them because they're Jews, because he thought they're Jews. One of them, in fact, is a Messianic Jew, which means he's a Jew, or he's a guy who, you know, actually believes in Christ. So he's actually a Christian, right? So he killed a Christian Zionist and he killed a Jewish Zionist, who both happened to work for the Israeli embassy. One of them is Israeli German. The guy was an Israeli guy born in Germany, and the woman was an American woman from Kansas, of all places. And their death, now 600. We're now 601 days into the war. Their death came almost at the 600th day exactly. It was like 5 days before, something like that. And we're seeing, yes, I see you, Yangi. I said hello to you too. We are seeing the lie against the Jews continue to spread. And so far, very little coverage of the fact, right? In the media, some places have put out, short clips of it saying, "Oh, look, people in Gaza broke into the warehouse." Yeah, you'll see that news story disappear faster than you can say sliced bread, because they don't want that to be the narrative. So you're not going to see that story appear. I guarantee you, you won't see it in another 24 hours. You're not going to see anything mentioned about that story unless it happens again and again and again in like 5, 10, 20 different places right away. If that was a one-off, that they just hit that one warehouse and that's it, they're not going to get into other places, you're not going to hear about that again. You're just going to hear about how Israel is starving the poor people and that the distribution mechanism isn't working, and that the American soldiers and American contractors, and not soldiers, they're military contractors. Most of them are former special forces operators, etc., but they're not technically active duty soldiers. They're contractors. You're going to hear all about how terrible those people are and how terrible these Israelis are for not giving food to the poor, starving Palestinians, even though it's been proven in Gaza that they have tons of food, like a massive warehouse. Okay, you see this thing, and it is filled with food for months and months and months, and they have many of these warehouses around Gaza, and they're armed and they're guarded by the Hamas. So there you go. Short little video for you. No news events of what's happening in the Middle East. Don't believe the lies about, Israel is some evil country trying to commit genocide. If Israel was trying to commit genocide, this war would have been over after a day. All right, this war would have been over 50 years ago, or any time since then. There's no interest for Israel to commit genocide. The side that wants to commit genocide is the side that says they want to commit genocide. When people tell you that they want to do something, you should probably believe them. And Hamas is the side that says literally, and it's in their charter, that they want to commit genocide. They want to kill every Jew, every Israeli, every Jew around the world, by the way, and every Israeli around the world. And they don't care where, by the way, if you're Israeli and you don't happen to be Jewish, they still want to kill you, even if you're an Arab Muslim. They don't care. They're the genocidal maniacs. You should believe it when a genocidal maniac says they want to kill you, especially when they have a record of attacking you constantly for decades. And Israel, that has extended its hand in peace on so many occasions and has gotten nothing but rejection, they're the ones you blame? Why? Because they're the ones with more power? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So you would blame the Allied forces because at the end of World War II they had more power than the Nazis? And they had more power than the Japanese? If that's how you think, you need to get your head examined. Okay, that's it, folks. Have a great day. Peace.